struggle is all the time. Sometimes you can't see it. Some people couldn't see the use of going to the courthouse in the 1950s. Some couldn't see the need of Martin Luther King's nonviolent demonstrations. Some could not even see the need or the use of urban rebellions. But there's no question these are the forms the struggle take. And the struggle has taken a deep form, one of the deepest forms it can take, which is an ideological struggle. When about 6 years ago, if my memory serves correctly, when Jesse Jackson and some other people called a meeting and said, we must now call ourselves African Americans. Of course, I'll never use the term African American, I just use Africans. But when they said that, it showed the ideological struggle was coming, because as a people, we in this country, all of us will define our origins as different. Ask any of us, what are you? Well, I'm black. What are you? I'm black American. What are you? Well, I'm American. Well, what are you? Well, I'm human. Well, what are you? Well, I'm African American. What are you? Well, I'm African. Well, I'm Bilalian. If you listen to us, we have so many different names to call ourselves. Therefore, since we come from the same origins, we cannot be unified. Even in mythology, the people have to have a common origin for their mythology to hold them together. And we who have a common origin, unquestionable thanks to our color, if nothing else, are the first ones to find their differences. But this ideological struggle has been occurring with an intensity inside our community over questions that have really been looping. When you just take the position our people has jumped on the question of Africa from the 1960s to the 1990s, why even the Honorable Marcus Garvey, peace be upon his name for all the work he did for us, could imagine this jump. I mean, when you say in the 1960s you went from Negro to black, you had a fight when you called him black. Well, you should have tried African.
Well, what do you have to say about the high number of Africans who are incarcerated in this country, the large number of broken homes in our communities?
All this is part and parcel of, all this is the attack against us. Matter of fact, I am, as a revolutionary, I am enthusiastic about this. Because I know from revolutionary history that when the people get in pre-revolutionary times, the enemy tries, the first thing is drugs. I mean, just a cursory look at revolutionary history will show you, in China they pumped in opium. The Chinese took out the opium and whooped them. In Africa, when the Algerians got ready to fight the French, they pumped hashish into Algeria. The pumpers of hashish, those who sold hashish to people, became the best fighters to kill French soldiers in Algeria. So everywhere they pump, they can't stop revolution, they can only slow it down. So all this was just to say, oh, so they see how fast the conscience is moving. They've got to drug the community, to drug them into criminality, because it's the only way to get us into criminality, because up till now, the high level of morality we have as a collective force, not individual, but as a collective force. Some people get confused with that. As a collective force, our morality is still very high. So all this is just part of the enemy, so I see it coming. You didn't stop it in China, you didn't stop it in Algeria, guess what? You ain't gonna stop it in America.
What kind of political understanding do you see among young people today? You speak at a lot of colleges.
It's growing tremendously. People are always condemning the young, but they're not with them. They're always condemning they don't know nothing about. Our young people today have made tremendous leaps. When I hear a sister, 19 years old, come and talk to me about dialectical materialism, and she's been studying on it, I snapped my head. I said, wow, it took me a while before I understood that. I couldn't get to that when I was about 26, 27. I'm a struggle. I was on the front line. You understand? And she just said she'd been reading the chain of the organization. I mean, it's just understood that the struggles, the gains that we made pass on to the people unconsciously, of course, as a disorganized people. We cannot do it properly. So when they yell at our youth don't know nothing about history, well, what organization did you join to help make sure that the history was institutionalizedly passed on to the youth? None. Shut up. You can't send your child to the enemy and think the enemy is going to give your child its history. That's clear. So since you've made no effort at all to come together with those who want to give their children proper education, proper history of what's going on, now that your children don't know the history, don't be screaming at the children.